school boards that have not had the tragedy still have a responsibility to make it known what they need in both changes in the law, clarifications in the law, or in funding. And I think that's very important, and that is something that starts at the school board level and then works its way down. Our administration has done an outstanding job of providing the information for us to take forward and tell our story at both the state and national level, trying to make a difference in our community and across this state and this country.
When we think of planning, emergency operation plans in schools, we think about all the things that you have in place. We've met with the principal from Columbine, we met with the superintendents from Sandy Hook, other school districts before this happened to say, tell me what happened and what's different. Some crisis, whether it's a hurricane, we experienced a hurricane at the beginning of that school year, Hurricane Harvey, that was devastating to this community and many others, and then the shooting at the end of a school year. So we had two crises to manage that year, and they were managed differently, but they still require preparation, they still require a good plan. And in that good plan, I think a key takeaway is the partnerships for response and recovery.
You have to develop strong partnerships. One of those partnerships is with our Galveston County Emergency Management Group and the PIO in that organization, as well as our city of Santa Fe PIO. Also, very important, the FBI PIO was very helpful with me with this particular crisis. And also we have a group of colleagues that are in neighboring districts who we have partnerships with them, and many of them came to help with communications. Well, media, you want to develop those partnerships ahead of time, and that's critical, especially in just everyday communication, but even more importantly in crisis communications. Returning to school, we wanted to ensure that our staff and our parents and our students were ready and felt comfortable returning to school. And so we held a parent meeting in our auditorium and invited the community and parents and students and staff to attend. And we were able to go through many of the safety enhancements that had been put in place over the summer, and some of the renovations that had been made to the high school to adequately make it more comfortable for the students when they entered. For example, our vestibule was extended to include the metal detectors, and so that it was made it more easily accessible for the kids to come through and those safety and security personnel to work with the students as they pass through the metal detectors. But we just wanted to make sure that everyone felt comfortable coming back after May 18th. As far as communicating to our community, our school learning community, including parents, our staff, the community as a whole, we take into consideration the best way to do that. And so we've asked for their input in several ways, one of which was a survey of how they would like to receive information. And because we're in a digital society, many of them want to receive that information through text messages, through videos, where they can actually see what's going on in the district. So we took their advice and their input, and so that's the way that we communicate. Well, early on in the process, we developed an interactive portal on our website, and we wanted to make sure that parents could ask questions and we would be able to go in and answer their questions. And so we also discovered that they wanted information. And so we developed a Safety Matters newsletter, and that newsletter the first edition was sent out August 24th, 2018. And we sent that newsletter for a whole entire year. And it was on a weekly basis, and we would provide them updates as far as safety and security measures that were put in place as we hired new personnel, as we enhanced, whether it be door alarms or whatever was the case, we wanted to make them aware of what was going on. One of the things that we did early on was to talk about the metal detectors a little bit, letting them know that there were certain items that if they packaged them in a certain way were easy for them to take out of their backpacks and go through the metal detectors at a much faster pace. To have the security personnel have to go through the backpack was time consuming, so we wanted them to be able to enter and go through as quickly as they can and not miss, class time as a result. We just kept that process up and found that, the parents appreciated it. Their questions were answered that way. This year, what we put into place was we have a website app that they can subscribe to on their phones, and all updates are placed on, and notifications, they can receive notifications that way. And so I feel like we're answering what they needed and what they wanted, was that quick, being able to go to their phone and get that information, or being able to access it more quickly than just an email or something being placed on the website. We do hold parent meetings occasionally to address concerns that parents may have, but our superintendent also has an advisory committee, a parent advisory committee, and she seeks input from those individuals and is able to share that with us if necessary, or with some of the other district leadership in making improvements, because in this district we are continually improving our processes, and we work on a continuous improvement cycle.
We had about 40 persons who were primarily parents and community members in support of what do we want to see moving forward for our district. So we develop committees around many things. Safety and security is one, and so those guys can get involved in helping learn, help do some research and see what is it that's going to be best for us, and how does that fit in with all the other components of education and funding, of course.
Well, we make sure that our staff is very well trained. They go through rigorous training in CRACE, which is Civil Response to Active Shooter Events, and Stop the Bleed. And we want to make sure that we do the standard response protocols, so which is pretty much, not to be redundant, but standard across many districts in our area. But also, just making sure that they have the resources and tools to not only keep their students safe, but also to keep themselves safe. Internal communication is just as important as external communications. So we make sure that our staff and our teachers and our administrators are that first line of communication. We make sure that they get the communications first before actually the parents and the media, so that they're knowledgeable about what's going on and that they're not the last person to find out or to know.
A lot of police officers are very attuned to looking at the physical surroundings, crime prevention through environmental design. They look at it from the perspective of trying to mitigate security risks. So paramount is good interpersonal skills, the love of kids, and the ability to communicate effectively with kids, and to be approachable to the kids so you can gather information from them. I want our students to feel comfortable in approaching officers, and that we can have a good two-way dialogue to try to mitigate problems before they turn into problems, and when they see something, say something, and be comfortable coming up to an officer to tell them about a potential risk so we can get ahead of it before it becomes a problem. And also to utilize our anonymous tip platform that we have.
And so what we do is ensure that we are transparent in our communication with the media, that we are accurate, and that we provide them the information that we have at that time, but also follow up as soon as we have additional information to verify either a situation or a concern that our parents or our community may have. And I think the one thing you want to think about is that you want to have that one voice. You want that community, and you want your students and the teachers and the parents to hear that one message, and so that it's not conflicting with others. There's a great deal sometimes that you can't share, and so you may have criticism with that. But what you want to do is try to get that information out as quickly as you can, but also making sure that it's factual. Communication is paramount in education. Effective communication with our school community establishes a partnership, but also benefits the school learning environment as far as keeping our stakeholders updated, informed, and involved, which ultimately results in student success.